Cletus was the first to notice the stranger's footprints, half hidden in the slick mud beneath a scattering of pine needles and the pale, ghostly petals of a dogwood blossom. He crouched low, his knees popping like dry twigs, his sunburnt skin stretched tight over knuckles sharp as flint. At 13, Cletus was already half feral, with the sharp eyes of a fox and the patience of a spider waiting in its web. Behind him, Scooter shuffled through the wet leaves, his bare feet kicking up clumps of dirt. 9 years old, maybe, nobody out here bothered to keep track. Scooter's blonde hair stuck out in greasy tufts, his overalls hanging loose like rags on a scarecrow. He clutched a rusty tin can that rattled with pebbles, humming a tuneless song under his breath. Bringing up the rear was Hamilton, leaning on a forked stick he called his snake beater, his tall frame all jutting bones and leathery skin. The last wisps of gray hair clung to his scalp, and his lopsided grin showed 2 yellow teeth, long and sharp like a boar's tusks. His pale, watery eyes missed nothing, scanning the woods with a predator's focus. The three moved through the dense forest, silent except for Scooter's occasional giggle and Hamilton's muttered curses. The trees pressed close, their shadows thick and heavy, swallowing the faint daylight. Somewhere deep in the holler, a whippoorwill's call sliced through the humid air, sharp and mournful. Cletus stopped short, pointing at the tracks. "Told you, Tim. Somebody's been here. Ain't no bear got feet like that." Scooter bent down, his tongue poking out between his lips. "Bet it's a ghost," he said, eyes wide. Hamilton spat a dark wad of tobacco juice into the dirt. "Scooter, shut your damn mouth. Ain't said nothing that makes sense all day. Ghost. Boy, you're dumber'n a sack of hammers." He gestured at the tracks. "Ghosts float. This here's a man." Cletus shot him a look. "Why you always riding Scooter like that? He's just trying to help." Hamilton froze, his eyes narrowing. "Help? Boy, you think you know what help is? Let me tell you why we call him Scooter. When he was little, he'd scoot his scrawny ass all over the carpet, leaving dirt tracks everywhere. That's why your mama left us, you know, couldn't stand the mess." Cletus rolled his eyes. "Shut up, about mama." He turned back to the tracks, ignoring Hamilton's grumbling. The footprints were deep, pressed into the mud like a challenge. Cletus grinned, his teeth flashing white in the dim light. "Ham, you reckon we ought to find him?" Hamilton's eyes gleamed, following the trail. "Oh, we'll find him. Folks don't just wander into our holler and walk out." Scooter giggled, his voice high and nervous. "Find and hide." Hamilton rounded on him. "Not till I see what rum Shababa wants, boy. Y'all head back to the house. Cletus, keep Scooter out of trouble." Cletus kicked a pine cone, his face sour. "Come on, Ham, I want to see rum Shababa too." Hamilton's voice turned hard. "I said take him back, boy. By the power of rum Shababa, you'll do it." Cletus muttered but obeyed, leading Scooter down the path, the younger boys can of pebbles rattling as they vanished into the trees. Hamilton watched them go, spat again, and turned deeper into the woods, his snake beater tapping the ground. The forest grew darker as Hamilton descended, the air cooling, thick with the scent of damp earth and decay. He moved with purpose, muttering about trespassers and heretics, the branches snagging at his sleeves like skeletal fingers. "Ain't no one comes in these woods without me knowin'," he growled. "They'll burn in hell's pit for it." The ground sloped downward, moss-covered rocks and tangled roots slowing his steps. At a cluster of boulders half buried in the hillside, he stopped, clawing away grass to reveal a small, ragged wooden door, no bigger than a manhole cover. He yanked it open, revealing a black, gaping hole. Crawling inside, he flicked on his lighter, the flame casting flickering shadows across the cramped cave. It was barely a closet, scraped into the earth, and at its far end sat Rum Shababa, a squat, 2-foot statue of rough-hewn stone, its face worn smooth by years of reverent hands. Tree roots curled around it, anchoring it like an ancient relic. Piles of rotting human heads surrounded it, some grinning skulls, others with scraps of leathery flesh, their eye sockets crawling with insects. Scattered among them were offerings, a ring of car keys, a broken necklace, colored beads, a child's shoe, a cracked mason jar. The air reeked of mildew and death. Hamilton knelt, pulling a pocket knife from his belt. He sliced his palm, blood welling up, and pressed it to the statue's face, smearing red across the stone. "Rum Shababa, keep these woods safe," he whispered, voice thick with awe and fear. "Ain't nobody come here, lest you say so. I tried to keep him away, but they keep comin'." A low, raspy voice filled his mind. "Spill blood." Hamilton nodded, glancing at a skull, its jaw twisted in a sneer. "Sally Joe, you was the best wife I ever had. But Rum Shababa's the only god. You shouldn't doubted him." He crawled out, clutching his bleeding hand, and trudged back uphill, cursing every root that tripped him. Back at the house, a crumbling shack of rotting boards and rusted tin, Hamilton found Cletus perched on the porch rail, picking at a scab. The place stank of cooking oil and the pig pen out back, its windows patched with cardboard, the chimney sagging like it might collapse. Scooter was in the pen, knee-deep in filth, giggling as a sow chased him. He slipped, fell face-first into the mud, and came up grinning, pig shit caked in his hair. "Pig patties for supper, Cam," he yelled. Hamilton shook his head. "Jesus Christ, Cletus, I told you to watch him, not let him wallow like a damn hog." Cletus shrugged. "Told him no, Ham, but he don't listen." Scooter spun in the mud, arms out, squealing, "I'm a pig now." "Oink oink." Hamilton threw up his hands. "Boy, you got the brains of a fence post. I catch you in there again, I'll whip you with the meanest switch you ever saw." Scooter just grinned, smearing mud across his face. Hamilton muttered, "If your mama could see you, she'd climb out of her grave to whoop you one last time." Cletus looked up. "Thought mama was with Rum Shababa now." Hamilton stomped onto the porch, the boards groaning. "Next time, tie that fool to a tree if you gotta. Don't let him in till I hose him off. Tired of pig tracks in my kitchen." Cletus grinned, his few teeth glinting. "What about them footprints, Ham? We huntin' more tonight?" Hamilton nodded, stepping inside. "We're huntin', boy." The house was a wreck, holes in the floor, a table propped on bricks, a mattress reeking of wet dog. Flies buzzed, and the forest seemed to creep in through every crack, as if reclaiming the place. John never saw the curve. One second, he was texting his buddy in Nashville about bachelor party plans. The next, his Honda was skidding off the rain-slicked mountain road. The tires screamed, then silence. A weightless moment before the car crashed down the embankment, branches snapping, glass shattering. His phone flew out the window, lost in the dark. The car slammed to a stop, nose buried in mud and laurel. John sat there, heart pounding, patting himself down. No broken bones, just a cut on his cheek, blood dripping hot and sticky. The door creaked open, and he stumbled out, boots sinking into the spongy earth. The road was a distant shadow above, unreachable in the dark. He searched for his phone but found nothing but tangled roots and blackness. His voice felt small as he called out, swallowed by the endless woods. Nashville was waiting, his best friend's wedding, where he was the best man, but now he was stranded, alone in the mountains. He picked a direction and walked, branches whipping his face, the ground uneven beneath him. The air grew colder, the silence broken only by an owl's hoot or the drip of rain. The deeper he went, the less the woods felt familiar. Trees loomed like twisted figures, their shadows dancing at the edge of his vision. Panic clawed at him, but he kept moving, hoping for a house, a light, anything. Hours passed, his legs aching, the cut on his cheek stinging with sweat. He stopped, trying to get his bearings, but every direction was the same endless, suffocating forest. No stars, no moon, just darkness pressing in. He thought of stories about hikers vanishing in these mountains, their bodies never found. The idea didn't seem so far-fetched now. Forcing himself to stay calm, he listened for any sign of life. A dog, a car, a porch light. Nothing but insects and the distant drip of water. Exhausted, he sank to the ground, deciding to wait out the night. He'd walked miles and found nothing. The woods were a different kind of dark, a pitch blackness city folks couldn't fathom. Hamilton led the way, his kerosene lantern swinging, casting jagged shadows across the trees. His face looked hollowed out, the lines under his eyes deep in the flickering light. Cletus followed, trying to seem brave, but every snapped twig made him flinch. Scooter trailed behind, arms crossed, still caked in dried pig shit, whining about being tired. "Ain't nothing out here but bugs and mud, Ham," he grumbled. Hamilton didn't turn. "You're tired, 'cause you spent all day swimming in hog crap. Smell like a septic tank, boy. Cletus, let him out of your sight again, and you're both sleeping in that pen." Cletus huffed. "Ain't my fault. Can't nobody keep up with Scooter when he gets going." The lantern's glow caught the footprints, still clear in the mud, leading deeper into the mountain's heart. "Keep your eyes open," Hamilton barked. "These woods eat folks who don't pay attention. Shababa says we spill blood, and that's what we're doing." They followed the tracks, the lantern barely pushing back the dark. Cletus spotted a beer can, a scrap of fabric, a boot print half sunk in mud. Scooter lagged, muttering about stepping in something dead. "Probably your own damn foot," Hamilton snapped. Hours dragged on, a coyote's bark echoing in the distance. The lantern flickered, oil running low, but Hamilton pressed forward, teeth bared. By dawn, they were exhausted, faces pale, clothes streaked with dirt. The tracks still stretched ahead, the promise of the stranger fading. Hamilton stopped. "Cletus, take the lantern, head to the road. See if you spot anything." "Scooter, you're with me." Scooter whined, but Hamilton cut him off. "'Cause I said so, boy. If we find that stranger, I'll show you how it's done." Scooter trudged behind, splashing through puddles, humming and swatting at gnats. The sun peeked through the trees, casting weak light. Hamilton glared back. "Scooter, you're louder than a banshee. Ever try being quiet?" Scooter grinned, arms flailing. "I'm hungry, him. My feet hurt." Hamilton rolled his eyes. "Only kid I know talks more'n he thinks, and you don't think much." They pushed on, the woods thickening. Then a sound stopped them, a low, yawning moan, like the earth itself groaning. Hamilton froze, eyes wide. He'd heard it before, in the cave with Shababa. It was hunger, disappointment. Scooter grabbed his arm. What's that? Ain't no coyote." Hamilton's voice was low. "That's Shababa, mad as hell we ain't found that stranger." "Hush up." But Scooter bolted, crashing through the brush, hollering. Hamilton cursed, shaking his head. "Go on, get lost, boy. Shababa, give me strength." John hadn't slept. Mosquitoes tormented him, biting every inch of exposed skin until he was half crazed. His clothes were damp, his body aching. As dawn broke, he heard voices, real ones, not the phantoms of the night. "'Cause I said so," a harsh voice barked. "If we find the stranger, I'll show you how I got him." John's blood ran cold. He ducked behind a log, barely breathing, catching glimpses of two figures, one lanky, one small and filthy, moving with purpose. He waited until their voices faded, then crept away, heart pounding. The woods were brighter, but he felt exposed. He stumbled on, desperate to escape those voices, until he reached a clearing and saw a shack, rotting boards, cardboard-patched windows, a sagging tin roof. Desperation pushed him forward. He knocked, calling out, but no one answered. The door was unlocked, and inside was chaos. Holes in the floor, a table propped on bricks, a stench of mildew and death. Brown tracks smeared the carpet, a tin can of pebbles sat by the door, a child's shoe caked in mud. A foul smell drew him to a back room. The bedroom door hung crooked, and inside, on a rotted mattress, was the lower half of a woman's body, gray and crawling with maggots. John gagged, stumbling back, while burning his throat. He ran, diving into a broken-down chicken coop nearby, its wire mesh torn, bones and feathers scattered inside. Crouching low, he watched the shack, heart racing, the voices talk of gutting strangers echoing in his mind. Then that moan came again, louder, shaking the ground. He waited, cramped and terrified, until he couldn't stay still. He slipped out, running into the woods, dodging branches, tripping over roots. He stopped near a hollow, unaware of the small cave entrance hidden by vines. The ground rumbled, a branch snapped above, and pain exploded as it struck his head. He collapsed, blood in his mouth, darkness swallowing him. Cletus trudged home, the lantern useless in the daylight. He paused at the wrecked Honda, its windshield cracked, blood and footprints leading away. "That's our man," he muttered, heading for the shack. Scooter burst from the trees, collapsing onto a pile of blankets inside, snoring instantly. Cletus sat on the porch, eyes heavy, catching a flash of movement in the woods. Hamilton appeared, clothes torn, eyes wild. "Find anything?" he barked. Cletus nodded toward the road. "Wrecked car down there. No one around. Saw something in the woods yonder." Hamilton's lips twisted. "That's where Shababa is, ain't it?" Cletus nodded. Hamilton stormed inside, grabbing a rubber hose, muttering about Scooter's stench. He stepped out, joining Cletus. "Get up, boy. We're hunting." They reached the woodline, and Hamilton froze. A massive figure stepped from the pines, tall, with bark-like skin, arms like gnarled branches, a glowing red gash across its chest. Its empty eyes locked on Hamilton, who stood paralyzed. "Cletus, run!" he shouted, shoving the boy back. Cletus bolted as Hamilton faced the creature. Shababa, I was getting that stranger for you," he pleaded. The creature's hand closed around his skull with a sickening crunch. Hamilton's body went limp, neck twisted, tongue lolling. The creature lifted him, pressing him into the red gash, which opened and swallowed him with a wet slurp. It turned to Cletus, who stood frozen, whispering, "I didn't mean no wrong." The creature stared, then vanished into the trees, its gash fading to orange. Cletus grabbed Scooter, dragging him from the shack, running until the holler was far behind. John woke by a river, splashing water on his face, drinking to ease his burning throat. He followed the water, the forest thinning, until he reached a narrow road. A tow truck stopped, the driver eyeing his battered face. "You the one with the Honda in the trees?" John nodded. The driver took him to the sheriff, who listened to his story. Crash, voices, shack, corpse, without laughing. The sheriff found the shack, empty but reeking of death. No Hamilton, no boys, no torso. "Squatters," he muttered, ordering it torn down. John's car was hauled out, and he was given a bus ticket to Nashville. As the bus pulled away, the holler faded into mist. He told himself it was over, but the memory of the shack, the voices, and that moan lingered, a shadow he couldn't shake. The sheriff's men razed the shack, leaving bare earth. John tried to focus on the wedding, but the woods had marked him. He'd heard the name Shababa in those voices, felt the ground shake. Something ancient lived in that holler, something that didn't forgive trespassers. Cletus and Scooter were gone, vanished like smoke. John wondered if they'd escaped or if the forest had claimed them too. He'd never know, but the fear stayed, a cold weight in his chest. The mountains held secrets, and he'd stumbled into one. As the bus rolled on, he stared out the window, half expecting to see that gnarled figure in the trees, its red gash glowing, waiting for the next stranger to wander too close.